Let's tank Aggramar in Antorus on normal and heroic difficulty. Now this fight is a 3-phase fight with 2 intermission phases. It's quite long, but there aren't too many mechanics in each phase, and they kind of power up every time you progress between the phases and the 2 intermission phases. So let's look at phase 1. Now straight away, Aggramar does a tank mechanic called Tashlak's Reach, and what this does is all melee attacks made by the caster strike the next closest target. If no target is found, the primary target is struck again. Each melee strike also increases physical damage taken by the main target by 5% for 12 seconds, and this affects stacks. So basically, for this, you want both your tanks stacked up on each other and sharing the damage so it's split between them. You want to take this to around 10 to 12 stacks and taunt swap there. Obviously, the more stacks you have, the more damage you're going to take, and the more damage that's going to get split between both the tanks. So just keep that in mind as you're taking higher stacks. You may want to think about using some kind of damage reduction if it's getting a bit too much for your healers to handle. His next ability is called Scorching Blaze, and what he's going to do is going to debuff a few random players. Each affected player pulses for 825k fire damage to all allies within 3 yards every half second for 1.5 seconds. So this is basically preventing the raid from just stacking up on one point, which is basically what you're going to have the raid do when the combo technique comes in, which we're going to talk about in a minute. Now another ability he does is called Wake of Flame, and Aggramar's going to call forth waves of flame that cascade away from him, inflicting 3.2 million fire damage to all players caught in its wake, and an additional 800k fire damage every 2 seconds for 12 seconds. These flames spawn like around the boss at random points around him and then just shoot out. You just need to keep an eye on where they are and dodge them. They're pretty easy to dodge. And his final ability, which happens throughout the fight, is called Tashlak Technique. Now this is a 5 combo technique, and you need to pick this up very quickly, and everyone in the raid needs to understand what's going to be happening. So the first thing the boss is going to do is going to big hit the tank currently tanking him. The other tank needs to not be in front of the boss at this point and be at the back of the boss, stacked up with the raid. As soon as the first hit happens, which is called Foe Breaker, the next thing's going to happen, which is called Flame Rend. Now, you want to split the damage between your raid, apart from the tank who's just taken the first Foe Breaker. And Flame Rend's going to inflict 25.1 million fire damage in a frontal cone divided evenly among all players struck. It's also going to knock you back. As soon as a knockback happens, you're going to want to charge back into the boss and turn the boss away from the raid and take the next Foe Breaker. This is the tank that's just taunted the boss onto the raid, needs to run through and then take the next big hit, while the other tank gets behind the boss and doesn't get hit by this second one, as it leaves a debuff on you. So you only want to take one of these per combo. The first tank that took the first Foe Breaker is then going to taunt back onto the raid and do the second Flame Rend onto the raid. As soon as this happens, you want some kind of movement speed like a roar or something, and everyone needs to run out as the boss is going to do a big circle around him called Searing Tempest. And anyone caught in this is going to be hit by 3.7 million fire damage and is also going to get disorientated for 5 seconds. So to sum this up, first tank takes a slash away from the raid, second tank taunts, slashes onto the raid, he then takes a slash away from the raid, the first tank then slashes back onto the raid, and then everyone runs out. It may take you a few pulls to get used to this, but once you get it, it's pretty simple. So at 80% health, we enter the first intermission phase. Now, on normal and heroic, you're going to get 2 big adds and around 7 small adds. To push the phase, it's on a timer, or you can also kill both the big adds, and that'll also push the phase. Now, the little adds are a big part of the fight. It's important to note that when you enter the intermission phase, you have around 3 minutes to kill all the adds before they all blow up at the same time, pretty much wiping you. So on normal, all you need to do is kill the little adds and they'll be removed from the fight. Heroic, it's a bit more tricky as they need to be pulled into the boss where they'll blow up and leave a nasty dot. This dot stacks, unfortunately, so they need to be killed off one at a time after the debuff expires. The debuff lasts roughly 20 seconds, so you've got to kill one every 20 seconds, which makes it kind of tight on the timer, but it is doable. Now at the 3-minute mark, all adds will explode, so if you have one left up, it doesn't really matter. You can just CC one away from the raid and just let that blow up at the end of the timer. So how we handled this phase on heroic was we killed one big ad. Once this ad was dead, we then started dragging the little adds onto the boss. We did roughly 2 in the intermission phase. We then killed the second big ad and then went into normal phase 2. and then started just pulling the ads in every 20 to 25 seconds when there wasn't a mechanic going out. We made sure to CC all the little ads when going into the phase. We assigned people to quadrants just to make sure each ad had a CC on it, and then we'd just mark one and say this would be the next one going into the boss, and then pull it in. If we needed to, we'd also drag the boss when he was in his phase 2. The reason we kill one big ad off first is because these two big ads in the intermission phase, they pulse damage. And if any little ads go near him, they also are immune to CC and move a bit quicker. So you just want to kill one off so you have a bit more room to pull the ads in. And you're also not getting pulsed by two big ads for a hell of a lot of damage. It's up to you if you want to do this strat, how we did it, but I highly recommend doing it, as both ads up do pulse a lot of damage very quickly and can wipe you very quickly if they're up too long, as the damage increases the longer they're alive. So as I said, phase 2 begins either as the timer goes down or when the two big ads die. You should have roughly 5 little ads left and they should be CC'd away from the boss. You want to keep dragging them in when the debuff ends, and you're still going to be handling the mechanics from phase 1. This phase goes all the way down to 40%, in which at that point you'll enter Intermission Phase 2. Now for abilities, you're going to have all the abilities from phase 1. And a new one called Flare. Now what Flare's going to do is Aggramar's going to mark up to 3 locations that explode after 4 seconds, inflicting 4.5 million fire damage to all targets within the radius. Now these are big massive red circles and they're very hard to miss. You'll see on the video they're absolutely ginormous. Just make sure that you're getting out of them. If you need a raw or some kind of movement speed, just call for it. Now apart from that, just be wary when the fire ads blow up that you're going to be taking more damage as a tank. And you may also want to think about moving the boss back a little bit so that the raid have a bit more room to dodge the flares. Now at 40%, as I said, we're going into Intermission Phase 2. Now again, this is pretty much the same as the first Intermission Phase, apart from you're going to get 2 new abilities. The first being Meteor Swarm. And all this is little circles on the ground. If you're standing, you're going to take 3 million fire damage. So you just need to make sure you're getting out of them. The second one's that ability called Wake of Flame again, and these just shoot out from Aggramar. You just need to dodge them. They're like little blades of fire coming out of him. Very easy. You just need to handle this phase like the first Intermission Phase, and you should be golden for the last phase. Now the only difference in the last phase to phase 1 and 2 is now you have Empowered Flare. And all this does is out of the big flares that happen in phase 2, the big circles, is wakes of flame are going to come out of them, so you just need to be extra wary of them and keep an eye out for them. Apart from this, everything stays the same as phase 1 and 2, and that's pretty much the fight. From watching beta videos, I thought this was going to be a pretty dull fight, but actually it's really enjoyable, probably up there with one of the better fights in this instance, and probably the most difficult on heroic. The intermission phase is by far the hardest part of this fight, so once you get this down and how to handle the ads, it's pretty much a kill. Please like, comment and subscribe for more videos.